All right, hello. How's everybody doing? Getting back into career build series here a little bit. Got some time, and I figured I would like to play some stormworks. Kind of got bit by the bug a little bit, so let's go ahead and get moving here. We're back in the career world. We'll go ahead and we'll probably do some missions to start out with. Money's doing pretty well, um, so we're moving right along there. I like to kind of get moving. One thing that's kind of making me want to get back to playing is I want to play with some larger builds, but I don't have a ton of time to work on that stuff, so I got to kind of see what's doable here. So we'll start playing, and that will kind of inform what we can do. But we're at beginner base here. We've got some good bit of money. Let's go sleep. We've got our beginner boat, and then I had the boat that I started making for Alistair's challenge. I just didn't have time to finish. So we will probably use that, maybe do a little bit of crabfish and try to finish that boat up. All right, bow rider has gone missing without an exact location. So one thing I've talked about before is go ahead and save before you do your mission. So I see it a lot. People complain on Reddit or wherever that, oh my god, I did this mission and something glitched out, or oh my god, I ran out of fuel, or many stories of woe. And one way you can kind of avoid that and make for better gameplay is make sure you make a save before you go to the mission. This mission's now locked in with our save. And for example, if we, especially for new players, if you go out there and you can't accomplish that mission because your boat's missing something or something happens and you accidentally crash, instead of getting frustrated, all you have to do is reload your save and you've lost a minimal amount of time. That's it. And so that would be what I would recommend for people to do. That just makes it a lot less punishing. All right, and so let's look at the boat. I think I did paint it after, so nobody saw that. But I put a winch on there. I don't believe that is hooked up yet. Let me look. Nope, nothing hooked up on there, so that's a later job. So what I've been trying to do is every time I spawn the boat and come back from a mission, kind of come up with some things it needs, and that kind of prepares me for every time I bring it back, I can make a little improvement. All right. All right, so we've got the marker out there. Let's go ahead and put it into our nav system here. It's going to tell us a bearing 2 is 5'9", and then we need to go to 5'9". Real simple system. And there we go. We're on our way. We'll get some daylight here in a little bit. I'm not going to accelerate it. The sun should be coming up shortly. But why is my regular chat not working? Let me pop the chat again. I see it working over on YouTube, but it's not popping on OBS. Okay, it's not working on YouTube for some reason. But hello, Aaron, how are you? Variante, hello. Daniel, how are you? Very nice. Alvar, how are you? Yep, gotta love the double streaming. All right, so I'm gonna see why the hell this isn't working on my chat, because I've got Twitch chat popping up. The restream chat's supposed to run both, so I don't know why this is not running. But oh well, I'll just check. I'll keep YouTube up. All right, so we're showing 57, a little bit to the left here. There we go. Should be there in about a little less than 2 minutes. So a bunch of good updates on the game. I haven't been able to play much, but some good updates to the game. I didn't get to watch the live stream. I think Alistair streamed it. I'll have to look at that. But for the Q&A, you get a lot of these complaints still of people are like, the devs don't put in the game what we want. Well, literally, like, they're pretty much putting in stuff from the Q&As now. So if you go back and watch the Q&A videos I did, they're all time-stamped. You can see somebody asks for a feature. The devs either say, yeah, that's something they're interested in, or no. And those have been the features we've been getting lately, like PTOs. I know, a bunch of us have been asking for PTOs. That was one of my questions. One of the Q&As, and that's what we got, was those the power takeoffs coming through the pivots. And so that's something I haven't been able to play with yet, but something that was very interesting to me. All right, so let's look for this boat. We're somewhere in the vicinity. It's search the area, locate the emergency. It's a missing bow rider. I'll start looking around because we're going to hit this in a second. And we're going to hit the middle, so it could be anywhere around us. I thought I might have seen a light over there. Maybe not. We'll just search around. The fog rolled in here, so... Let's see what some of my settings are here. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. That's not what I meant to do. There we go. Let's do that. Try and get the day-night duration a little bit longer. I'm not really seeing anything yet. Should be past the center point, so probably somewhere up here. It could be up against the island. Let's start turning towards the island. We'll do a search pattern if need be. Try to read chat. It's a little dangerous driving around reading chat in the fog, but yeah, I like fishing and crabbing was good. We get the island here. Let's not hit the island. This is the military island. Yes. Sometimes the boats are pushed right up against the islands too. Trying to think of like what some of the things, like if I had been there, to ask a question for the Q&A, what I would have asked for. Probably hydraulics are my most desired feature. Another thing I would like, I'd asked for before, they seemed interested in, was a Tajin container port. That way we could fly. We have FJ is great. FJ has all three, and I don't think every base should have everything. I think it's good to have certain bases that have everything. Some people might say it's OP, but think of a city. A city has everything. A city has an airport. A city has a seaport. It's a place of great interest. It's a large density area, and you go to like the middle of rural nowhere, they don't have a lot of things, and so it kind of makes sense to to have some places that have a bunch of different things. And so I would like it if you could transport containers via airplane. That would give airplanes good usage. It would give you a reason to go up to the Arctic. So and then a lot of it is if you're already up there, you might stay and do some other things. And so if you give us a reason to go to the Arctic, for example, you have you can take a container from FJ up to Tajin. Well, then it keeps you in the Arctic, as you say, well, I'm up in the Arctic already. I might go fishing or something else. I might do some rescues whilst I'm here. And that gets you in the Arctic. I think that would be helpful to reinvigorate the Arctic. Other things I would like, I'm a big proponent on, I would like to see an island over here, and over here. And then I would tie it into, for example, resources. Like, they could have some really good resources, but they're far from civilization. And so pretty basic economics is, if you have a lot of resources, but you're far from your consumer base, you need to transport it there, and that really starts bringing in vehicles. So like say for example you have an island. That island has an airport, and it has the best fishing in game, or some of the best fishing in game. So the most expensive fish you can get. Well, like a lot of people they were reasonably valid criticisms of the expensive fish were very, very far away from the mainland. So you had like literally fishing spots out here, and it was pretty far away from, uh, you know, any place you could launch your boat. So people didn't want to travel for an hour to go fishing. As they travel for an hour to go fishing, travel an hour back, and travel another hour to actually do the fishing. So you have 3 hours of fishing for the increased profit. And a lot of people saw that as too much of a time sink. And I get that. But what you could do is, if you had an island down here, say the island's right here, and make it as big as, say, this island here. And you put that here, and you put a little airstrip. So you kind of limit the size of an airplane that can go in there. And then you have a place you can spawn boats. And so you could go there via airplane. You could fly your airplane from somewhere over here, over the island, land, despawn your airplane. You could then spawn your boat, go out and fish. So it might take you 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever, to go get the fishing done. You bring the fish back to the docks, but there's no place to sell on that island. So you can't sell your fish here. Well, that means you got to load it onto an airplane or move the ship all the way back. So likely what are you going to do? It forces you to go put it on an airplane. I'm going to get rid of some of this fog. This is just annoying with the fog like this. It's just being obnoxious right now. I'm not seeing this friggin' bow rider at all. Let's go up to the top of the search area. But I think some of that sort of stuff is, logistics are a big part of of where we get a lot of vehicles. Is the need to move things from A to B. And so kind of fully embracing that in game, I think would be good. I would also like to see them add missions to transport passengers. Pretty simple. Again, like this, it says, hey, 10 passengers would like to go from down here at, what is this place? End Airfield up to the Arctic, so up to Tajan. And so it's 10 passengers, so what do? You bring a plane that can carry 10. You might get missions 20, and then the people wouldn't spawn until you get close, just like this. And expansion of that, again, would bring airplanes in and make the game a little bit more interesting. All right. I cannot believe I've not seen this bow rider yet. You just spot them pretty quick. Usually their lights are on. Might not have spawned yet. Okay, good. Chat's working now. Yeah, I don't know why it took a minute for the chat to kind of get with it. Alright, see what's new, chat. Oh yeah, the other one was the seats for like motorcycles and stuff. I haven't played with that yet. That would be fun. The hell is this bow rider? I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen it yet. $260, doing about a 70. So a big thing is like, the whole point of an engineering game is you create a problem that needs to be solved. And so, there are move from A to B type situations all the time. those are all things that are good to, have to work on. All right, we might have an issue with my boat here. I don't know if I have a way to read fuel on here. All right, I'm going to do this real quick. I have driven over this whole area. I do not see it. There it is. What the fuck? How do we just drove by that like 3 times. How do we miss that? Starting to have, I doubt it could be overheating. I'm not sure. I don't know if I put the coolant in yet. That was something that, was on my to-do list. So I may have not put coolant in here. We gotta see. I think that was on my to-do list. It's been since August, since the last time I played with this, so I'm not sure where I was. Hello there, Puissant. How's it going, David? How are you? Yeah, Stormlink was all right. I have my issues with Stormlink. I didn't like the buildings. They tended to add a lot of glut to it. Some of the places that you're supposed to transport people were a little bit weird. And then Stormlink was great. I used it on the Cap Air series, but I pretty much needed my own save for Cap Air because of the fact that it spawns all the people in all the time. And so essentially what I would do when I was doing Cap Air was I would say only, I would sell the routes except one, the one that I wanted to do. Because by the time I was using an airplane that could hold, say, 25, 30, 50 people, whatever, it would lag out the game because you had a huge number of people all over the map. And so the game, essentially the way some of these games work is if there's nothing down here, this area all disappears. And so your processor doesn't need to run that. We're nowhere near this, so all that's disappeared. But if you had pastures here, all of that has to be rendered at the same time. And so it makes the game run really slow. And so the better thing to do was to, the way I would think it is, like, this mission doesn't spawn until you get close to it. And so I think by spawning pasture missions as missions, I think it would be better because they could despawn when you weren't using them. And that would allow you to be able to, allow you to have better resource use on your computer, and it wouldn't be lagging out, Because I don't need every pasture in the world to be spawned at once. I just need the pastures I'm currently working with spawned, kind of like a mission, and like some people, you'll see people be like, oh, my game slows down after X number of hours. Well, likely it could have been like, say, a boat runs into that terrain, gets stuck on the terrain. One of the ways you can fix that is you teleport far away. The game's then able to cull that vehicle. And then when the vehicle's gone, your leg will go away. So a lot of people, they never leave, one area, and so they end up with that problem. Now, what do we got here? We got 3 casualties. Okay, so we got one more. I did not see. Oh, they're in the boat, I think. All right. And then let's steal some shit. Just stuff I need. I don't need to steal shit I don't need. Alright, good. Alright, so I do not believe I put any engine cooling in this, and that's probably why we're going slow right now, is it's overheating. So, could you stop there and grab that, please? Thanks. How do we do this? Left mouse button. I'm doing left mouse button. Why won't they take us? Oh, they're deceased. Alright, that's fine. Alright, fish food. No. Fish food. If you're deceased, burial at sea. Alright, how are you looking there in health? You're alright. So the two of you couldn't have helped your compatriot there? We'll tell right now if it was overheating, which, yeah, it looks like it was overheating because, as you can see, we're back up to normal RPS, so, likely my overheat protection system kicked in. And it just, actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's drop these people off here so that I can finish up the mission. Yeah, let's just do this. We'll drop them off here. You know, so I think the devs are adding things to the game, which I think will be good. They don't have to do massive reworks. And I think they're doing an all right job. You know, from what I heard from some of the side talk of, you know, the Q&A is they've been working on the new game, which, again, you got to expect them to work on the new game, right? You know, and so they've been working on the new game, and so they can only do so much to this game, and you know, again, the best way to keep them working on this game is to keep this game profitable, and that means buying the game and buying the DLCs, you know, and that's how you keep a game profitable, is keep money going to the devs. If this game, you know, this game, quote unquote, stormworks is not profitable as a business, they have to go build something else. And so if you want to, you know, if it works for everything. If you want the restaurant you like to stay in business, what the fuck did happen to this person? If you want the restaurant you like to stay in business, you got to go to the restaurant and buy food. You know, I see it all the time. People like, you know, they'll go, oh, my favorite restaurant closed. That's so sad. And you ask, well, when's the last time you've been there? Like, oh, well, 3 years ago. Well, you know, what do you expect? Is they need to pay the bills. They need you to go buy food from them. If you don't buy food from them, they're going to go out of business, you know? And the same thing with games. Is like, you want this game to keep getting updated? You know, you got to keep giving them a revenue source. So I think the devs should do another DLC, you know? You know, it wouldn't surprise me if they're trying to get this new game launched, and then they'll be more willing to come back and do some, fuck you, come with me, Blair, black shirt asshole. Come on. I pressed E as I went by you, and you didn't follow me. You know, if they think that people will buy a new DLC, and that will keep the game going, then that's what they would need to do, you know? But you gotta buy it. You can't just, like... can't not support the things you like in life. That's not how economics works. You know? Make a toaster that lasts for 100 years, well, the toaster company goes out of business, you know? Fuck me, I did it again. I bunny hopped too much and I lost this person in the black shirt again. You screwed. Stay there. I gotta go get red, the black shirted dickhead. Bunny hopping is very immersion breaking, but it does cut the monotony down of running around with these people. If I can string the bunnies together, up, I screwed that one up. You can really get moving pretty fast. Yeah, well, who was talking? Aaron was talking about, like, you know, at the end of the day, if you know, the point of an engineering game is you have some sort of problem you need to solve, and you come in and you solve that problem. So, you know, there are a bunch of people, you know, there's somebody who posted on Reddit the other day, and they're like, you know, what was it? Essentially, they're like, what's the point of trains? And it was kind of a silly question. I mean, I'm like, what do you mean, what's the point of trains? People like trains. And they're like, oh, I have to load and unload the trains. And I think, personally, that's my favorite part about trains. Like, trains I find to be pretty boring because you sit there and it steers for you. And so it's pretty well automated. You set the thrust. And the train steers for you, so it's pretty boring to me. But the part that I find to be interesting is the loading and unloading of trains. So building a forklift or a container loader that you then go and load your trains with. And so that was the part for that person that bored them, you know. And so it's kind of the point of the game is, you know, you have a problem. I have containers. They need to make it on the train. I need to come up with a way to do that, you know, and that's your solution. And then, you build better and better solutions until you have some really cool vehicles, That's what's interesting to me, at least. Let's check up with some chat. Yeah, it was Daniel K. Sorry. He said, yes, nothing better than logistics issues you can solve with special vehicles. Yep, that's my favorite thing to do in this game is I need to get something from point A to point B, or I need to get something from the ground onto this thing. I need to get from here to there quickly. Those are all great engineering problems, and you can then use your creativity to solve those problems. That's where the game's its best. Yeah, I get the mods. I'm not a huge mod guy. Like certain games, I mod the hell out of. Other games, I do vanilla. And for the most part, I do vanilla now. And for good reason, like a lot of mod developers, they can't keep up with it forever. They lose interest in it. Like, myself, I've become very busy. I don't have enough time off. It's hard for me to play Stormworks when I'm at work. And so... you imagine if I had a bunch of mods and something changes in them, do I want to go back and update all my mods? No. And so you saw this with Kerbal. Some of the favorite mods for Kerbal, people eventually go do other things. One of the guys who was a big Kerbal modder, he actually built his own game. He built VTOL VR, which is a fantastic game. Do you think he has the time to go back and to work on his mods for Kerbal? No. Probably not. He's building his own games, and so he doesn't have time to do that anymore. And so we're just overheating here. And so he doesn't have time to do that sort of thing anymore. And so that's one of the things I don't like with mods, where with a gaming studio, I'm going to do this. No, I don't mean to do that. With a gaming studio, they hopefully can have a little bit more where they can go and keep up with what the game files. They don't have to, if they update something, they'll update the whole game. Where one of the big things with Kerbal is every time a new edition came out, you had to wait for all your favorite mods to get updated. And so it was kind of, eventually people were like, I'm sick of updating my mods. And then the developer is afraid to update games because they're afraid that, they're going to piss off people because for a month they're not going to play because their favorite mod doesn't work anymore. And so that's one of the negative things about modding. And so especially there's certain games like Kerbal that I use mods. I was going to get back into Kerbal. I really wanted to get back into Kerbal, and I wanted to stream some Kerbal. But one of the things that kept me from doing it was I'm like, oh my god, I have to go figure out all the mods that I used to like to use. I got to download all the mods, install all the mods. I got to make sure they don't conflict with one another. And it was just too much of a pain in the ass. I'm like, screw it, I'm not going to even play. And and then the other thing too is you see a lot of people who play this game are like, my game keeps freezing, my game keeps stalling, my game won't load past 90%. And a big question I always have for them is, are you using mods? And a lot of the time it's yes. And there's something wrong with their mod. And so they got 5 mods that might be conflicting with each other or broken because of an update. And then, the game doesn't work and they blame the game, not the mod, Rip cheese mod. Yeah. Mods can be great, but they can also be a pain in the ass, like I was saying, and it just makes it more work sometimes. And so I'm not against mods, but I would much rather the devs add something stock to the game. And if you want to add your version of it with mods, great. But I would like it to be stock in the game, frankly. All right, so let's see what we're going to add to our boat. All right, so I actually am kind of remember. It's been a while. It's been August since the last time I did the career build series here. The next thing I was going to do was cooling. So this boat has had no cooling. We also haven't done any reasonably far missions. And we just ran out to the island, ran all the way around the island a bunch of times. And so we overheated. Now, you notice we don't catch on fire because I have a simple overheat protection system in there. I can show you guys that if you want. But work on cooling. We need to work on the anchor. Because each time I put this back in the base, I want to go ahead and at least work on something, you know? You know, from a philosophical standpoint, when people, you know, get bored in this game and they kind of want it to give them more story, or, oh, I never play career. Career is boring. I think if you think career is boring, you're boring, because it's a sandbox. Make up things that you like to do to keep you interested. So, like, I've been thinking of some cool things that got me back into wanting to play again. And so, for example, like, there's something I want to do. I could do it as a mod, but I'm not going to bother doing it as a mod. What I'm going to do is I want to build some new airplanes. And one of the things I want to do is build some, you know, I have pallets, and I want to build some actual plane cargo cans, some containers. And I think it would be cool to, and I wish the devs would do this, put this innately in the game, is come up with a pallet system like I did. I put that in one of my feature requests. And what you could do then is, the benefit of a pallet is you can load it on any type of vehicle. You can load it on a truck, you can load it on a train, you can load it on a plane, you can load it on a ship. And because you can load a pallet on anything, it then makes it so that we can come up with our vehicles to take those. Now, we have the standard containers, which are great. They're small containers. They can fit on trucks and trains, and they can fit on boats, and they can fit on planes. But they're a little bit big for planes, and you need some big vehicles to utilize them. And so I would like the devs to also add smaller pallets, which, for example, you could fit in the back of a pickup truck. You could fit 5 of them in the back of a box truck. You could fit 100 of them on a train. You know, you could fit 20 of them in a plane. You could fit 100 of them in a ship. And that way it allows us to build what we want to build and carry it, you know. All right, good. So that's back. Next thing I recommend everybody do. All right, you just had a successful mission. Save. And I always alternate between my regular save and backup. All right, and so now we've got a save still that is right here. Yeah, right here. This one is the one just before the mission. And so if we wanted to go run that mission again, we have the save. So again, if you crash into something, you forget something, your boat runs out of fuel or it overheats and you don't want to take the long limp back, you can just reload the save and do it again, you know. All right, so cooling, that's something we need to do. I did put cooling in. I don't know if it's actually running, though. Let's look. I don't know how far I got. That's the thing. All right, so I don't know if I hooked this up. Electricity, it's hooked up. Let's see. So I got to check on this. I don't know if I can get in there is the problem. Let's see. Let's see. Can I get in there? I might be able to get in here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. So the cooling system, let's look. So I put cooling systems in, but I don't know if they're fully set up yet. All right, that goes to coolant pump. Let's make sure this one's plumbed. Coolant pump. All right, good. So generally what I do, so let's, I said I'd show you the overheat protection system. I know I've probably showed this a bunch of times, but so essentially what it's doing is it's turning off the PID, turning on the PID, turning off the PID, turning on the PID, depending on temperature. So here's overheat protection right here. And so right here is temperature channel 3. If the temperature is less than 110 degrees, right, and all these other conditions, it allows the PID to run the engine. Okay, so what's happening is when the temperature goes over 110 degrees, it says shut off the engine. or shut off the PID, which shuts off the engine. What it does is a temporary cut of power. So it's just temporary. So as soon as it goes below 110 degrees, the power comes back. So what this effectively looks like is as the engine shuts off, the temperature dips below 110, then the engine turns back on. So it's engine on, engine off, engine on, engine off, engine on, engine off. And essentially what it's doing is it's just reducing the fuel, adding fuel, reducing, adding. And so what it does, it just stutters the engine so that it can't overheat. And that's just so it doesn't set on fire. Real simple. Same thing's going on here. If the temperature is greater than 100 degrees, the coolant pump cut-in will start. So the coolant pump will start. All right. And so if the temperature is greater than 100 degrees, it's going to flip an on-off switch. And that's going to set the motor going, which will go ahead and turn on the coolant pump. And so that's going to give us 0.19. I've shown in videos before that I found that around this number, 0.18, 0.19, that's as fast as you need to move that impeller pump to get the maximum flow rate. Anything more than that, you're just wasting electricity. So that's why it's set to that number. I don't know why I have an extra one there. But that's what that is. So that's off. So if the temperature is not greater than 100, it doesn't turn the pump on. As soon as the temperature gets a greater than that, it turns the pump on. So let's go ahead and we'll test it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in there, and instead of 100, all I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect it. So all we have to do is go like this, and now if the temperature is greater than 0, the pump will come on. And so this will let me check flow values really quickly. And we can do that as well. All right, good. So that's going to allow me to check the flow rates on this. So you can hear them going right now. I hear them. So let's actually, I don't want to start that. Say, let's do this. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and we'll load the custom. And we'll go test this vehicle around. I can test it really quickly in the custom game. So let's do that. Check chat while I'm at it. Yeah, what do you call it? Was a great Stormlink was a great add-on. Yeah, I call it's an add-on because it was before mods, but it was a great add-on. It had its problems, and the main problem was the person who was building it stopped building it, and that's again one of my issues with mods. Is you know you have somebody who they don't play the game anymore or whatever, and now you don't get to use it anymore, and it breaks, and they don't feel like fixing it again. And so you had an unofficial version of it. Somebody kind of built their own, started, took over, not necessarily with the support of the original developer. Okay, so this looks pretty good. If you look, we're going at 6 RPS. We've got 188, 170, 186 liters per second, so good flow rates. I'm trying to find this. If I can look at the right thing. Heat sink here, we have so the fluid is pumping at 175 liters per second. There's 96 liters in the heat sink, so that looks pretty good. And then I might add a tank on this to boost the fluid. All right, so let's do that. And we'll go do some quick testing. So one thing I didn't do, if you watch my coolant video, I go and I show you how it is helpful to add tanks of water, not diesel. Because essentially, if you look before, we had 92 liters, what was showing inside of the heatsink. So yes, the fluid is pumping at 176 liters per second, but there's only 92 liters in the heatsink. And so what we're going to do is we'll make these fresh water. And now this is going to boost the amount of water in there. And so let's go check that real quick. All right. And so now, so you can see there, if I can see it we have a small fluid tank. As you can see, there's 21 liters of fresh water in there. There is a bunch of air. That's fine. That's knocking down the liters per second, likely because of the air pressure. I gotta see if there's any. Let me check it real quick. So you see the heatsink is filling with water. What I'm looking for here is to see if it goes above whatever it was last time, 92, 96, whatever it was. It might be its max capacity anyway, so I'm gonna see. Can't see this tank unless I look right in the right spot. There we go. The tank has a bunch of air in it. I might purge that air out. Yeah, you see the atmospheres are up, and that's gonna slow down, likely slow down the flow rate. So let me put a burp on there. I think these are actually symmetrical, so I'll do this. All right, so a lot of people are confused by this. All a gas relief valve does is say, hey, I'm only going to let gas in and out. That's it. A fluid relief valve, all it does is say, hey, I'm only going to let in fluid. That's it. That's all it does. And, you know, areas of high pressure go to areas of low pressure. That's all that happens there. So it's pretty simple. It's not rocket surgery. All right, so this the pressure should be dropping in this tank. As you can see, it is. It's just, yeah, you see the pressure is dropping in the tank. Carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen are all gone now because they're essentially equalized within the room. Flow rate's looking lower here. I'm just trying to check. Impeller is currently running at what, 5.7? So I might up that value. We'll see. Might have been running better as a closed system. Let's do this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run back with standard. There's a reason why I didn't do this initially. Was the I didn't have the space for those pumps. I'm going to try to put them in now because... Oh, I see the problem. Never mind, I see the problem right now. I just spotted the problem. I put the coolant manifold in the wrong spot. That's literally all I did. All right, that's all I did was put the coolant manifold in the wrong spot. See if it's in chat. Does anyone else spot it? Nope, nobody else spotted it. Okay, good. I put the coolant manifold in the wrong spot. See, it's not connected. That's it right there. See that? Coolant manifold is not connected. That's why we're having all of our problems here. Because this should be cooling fine. So, all right, there we go. That is literally should be the only problem there, is that's not even connected. So it wasn't cooling at all. All right, good. So that should fix the problem right there. All right, let's go ahead and spawn this. Let's go give it a quick run. It's not going to overheat. Let's do something real quick. I need some sort of dial. I want to get back into stormworks a little bit more often also because I don't want to lose the skills of it. You know, it's like anything. Skills, you know, you lose your skills if you don't use them. Okay. But I saw a question on there. I'll answer it in a second. All right, so all we're going to do here is we just need to read number 3 for our temp. And then we'll write some numbers. There we go. All right, real quick. All right, that's good. And we want, we can read off any cylinders, fine. All right, good. So we got that plugged in. So now it should cool fine. So I just I screwed up with that one. Yeah, I figured somebody, usually when you guys sees it first. Sometimes you get too close to the problem, you don't see it. Where the hell? Oh, I'm over here. I was like, I'm not at the beginner base again. All right, let's get some, so the other thing too is it's nice because we're in the hot area, so. I forgot I don't have an autopilot on this yet. All right, let's see. 1730, right there. All right, so we'll run this full bore for a little bit. It should be fine. It just wasn't even hooked up. Those are good flow rates, so should be good. All right, let's catch up with chat. How's work been? It's been good. We're winging. Much winging. Yeah, Bluetooth cooling. Exactly. Hello, John. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see some people on Twitch. Yeah, this should probably not overheat at this point. My RPS is low. I've got a 9.5. Let me see if I can bring up the charts. Again, I was toying with trying to finish that cooling series. I have the data. If you guys remember, I did a live stream. It was like one of the workshops, and I went through the data on the cooling video, but oh my god, it's hard to condense it into a short enough video for people to really kind of pay attention to, and it's a lot of work if people aren't going to watch it, you know. And so yeah, but I'll show you the graphs here. Let me see, bring up the graph and not be a pain in the ass with it. Like here's the cooling charts from the cooling video, and if you look, essentially, if you have a very low gear ratio, you have very low load, and that allows you to run a high RPS, you know, because you have very little resistance. And so in this, we're running, if you remember back the video, we're essentially just running a generator. Let me look outside real quick. Okay. We're just running a generator, and that generator is our load. You know what we'll do? I'll take a screenshot of this real quick. That'll be easier. Then I can make it small. That's what I'll do. All right. That will be the easiest thing to do. That way I can just put it up on the screen. All right. All right, so there's the cooling data. And so to go over the cooling data here, essentially what you have going on is, you know, up here on the left you have, I'm just going to put the other one on the other screen so I can just look at that one while I'm doing it. All right, so essentially we're running a generator, so that's our load. And the higher the gear ratio, right, the higher the load on the engine. You're asking it to spin the generator faster, which causes more back pressure, which causes the engine to move slower because it's having to do more work. It's like adding more weight to a dumbbell you're trying to curl, right? And so up here we have very little load because we have a very low gear ratio. The gear ratio is 0.33. So for every one rotation of the engine, we get 0.33 rotations of the generator. So we're down gearing, and that's making it so that the engine has to do very, very little work, but it's also producing very, very little work. And so you end up with a situation here where the SWatts are only 0.37. Time to overheat is 6.8 minutes. And you're not getting a lot of total work. You're getting 2.53. If we go down to a 1, right, so that's 1-to-1. One rotation engine, one rotation of the gearbox. You're still at 22 RPS. You're producing 3 SWatts. So your RPS has gone down by essentially 0.5 RPS, and you're doing like 10 times the work. The amount of SWatts. You're producing 10 times the electricity, let's put it that way, per second. And then your time to overheat is not that much. It overheats more quickly, but not that much more quickly. So your time to overheat, where you down geared it and you were producing literally 0.37 SWatts, was 6.85 minutes, so just under 7 minutes. When you're at a 1-to-1 gear ratio, your RPS goes down from 23 to 22.5. Again, half an RPS, but you're producing 10 times the amount of electricity. And time to overheat was 5.5 minutes. So, and the total work done goes from 2.53 to 18. So a huge increase in efficiency. For not that much quicker overheat. Let's go down to 2. If you go down to a 2-to-1 gear ratio, right, it does not knock your RPS down very much. Again, you go from 23 to 22.5. You're now down to 21.18. It does 11 SWatts per second. So that's 3 times what you were doing at 1. So you've doubled the gear ratio, and you've gotten more than 3 times the amount of electricity. If you then look, it took 3 minutes and 67 seconds to overheat. So it's much quicker to overheat, but the total amount of work you've done is 42 SWatts. So you've done a lot more. So you went from 2.53 total work to 18. Now you're at 42. So you've got more than double for doubling the gearbox. All right. If we go down to 3, you're talking 18.86 SWatts. So now this is the first time we're starting to get an appreciable decrease in RPS. So what's happening, a lot of people don't get this relationship. As you increase the amount of load on an engine, the engine will turn slower. But because of the gearbox, you're doing more work. So you're reducing your RPS, which reduces heat, reduces fuel burn, and you're doing more work. And so this is why you want to gear things. You want that efficiency. That's why you gear up every car known to man, except you're starting to get electrics. You don't need the gearing. But at 3, it's 18.86 RPS. You're now making 20 SWatts per second. It overheats pretty quick, 2.83. It's actually your quickest overheat time. And you make a total work of 57. So this is where a lot of people, they think much, mo better, stronger, faster in games. So they think if they just do the biggest or the best or the fastest of something, it's magically best. It isn't. Just always doing the most isn't the best all the time. It's more complicated than that. So if you start getting down here into the bottom numbers, once you start getting past 3, you notice you start getting a huge decrease in RPS. And that's where you start getting much more efficient. So from going from a gear ratio of 1 to 3, so 1 rotation of the engine, 3 rotation of the generator, to 1 rotation of the engine to 3.6 rotation of the generator, your RPS drops sharply. It goes from 18 RPS down to 14. Now, because the engine is going slower, you're going to make less work per second, but it's going to take longer to overheat. So ideally, of course, if you could run this sucker at 3 to 1 gear ratio and actually keep it cool, you would be able to make the most power. But the problem is you're going to have such a huge extraneous amount of cooling, it's not worth your time to do that. And that's why you see a lot of people just, what do? They go to the highest number on the gearbox, and then they say, oh my God, I don't understand why it's not cooling. And this graph shows it. We'll go in the graph in a second. As we get further and further down the chart, as you get down to, it goes 3.6 is 14 RPS. Then it goes down to 9 at a 4.5. Then it goes down to a 6 at a 5.4. And then 6 was the highest gear ratio I could run with that setup before it stalled the engine out. But you get super efficiency. And so this is where, for example, in a boat, if you can get to areas of like the super efficiency, you can run your boat all the way to the Arctic and never worry about overheating, right? And so if you look at a 6 to 1 gear ratio here, the 6 to 1 gear ratio, we're down to 4.6 RPS, right? So think about what that means. The engine is turning very slowly. It's burning not a lot of fuel. It's not making a lot of heat. And because it's not burning a lot of fuel and making a lot of heat, that's something awesome for, say, an oil tanker, right? And you're making 4.96 S-watts per second. Not a ton. It's actually the lowest number, not the lowest, but the lowest up gear on this chart. It takes 16.5 minutes to overheat, because I have no cooling on any of these, I believe, in the test. And then if you look at the right column here, it does the most amount of work. So because the engine can run for so long, it actually produces the most amount of electricity. It produces a reasonably low amount of electricity per second. It actually is around the neighborhood of a 1.2, but the engine can stay running longer. So to compare two numbers real quick here, right here's the 6 to 1, okay? On the 6 to 1, we're producing 4.9 S-watts per second. Okay, so now we're talking about a generator, but think of it like your propeller turning on your boat, because that's what a lot of people have problems with in this game. Is their issue being that yeah, no, I can see my head, and you guys can't see it. I can see all of this where it is. I can see, so you don't have to worry about that. I can see fine. All this I can see. It's just your screen. You can't see it. And so if we look back at the 6, right, this is where you see people constantly posting on Reddit and everywhere else that their boat overheats. One of it is they want ridiculous, unrealistic speed. Well, if you want ridiculous, unrealistic speed, you need ridiculous, unrealistic cooling apparatuses. Let's put it that way. You want unrealistic speed? Go get yourself some unrealistic cooling, okay? That's the compromise. But so if we look at 6, right? 6 is producing 4.65 S-watts per second. That's essentially instantaneous power. That's what we're using this whole instant S-watts as, is this is how much power you could put to a propeller, either a plane or a boat or whatever, a car, a wheel, at one time. And so at a 1 to 6 gear ratio, 1 rotation engine, 6 rotations of whatever you're turning, it makes 4.6 S-watts. Well, if we look up on the chart, where is it at? It is a 1.2. 1.2 makes 4.62, so they're pretty close. The 6 still makes better power than 1.2, but then look at the RPS difference. The 1.2 is making a little bit less power than the 6, but it's doing it at 22 RPS, so it's burning a lot of fuel, making a lot of heat. The 6 is not turning very fast. The engine's only turning at 4.65, so it's not burning a lot of fuel, and it's not making a lot of heat. All right, so with those things in mind, all right, let's look at the actual graph here. So blue line is RPS, all right. Green line is S-watts. All that really means is this S-watts graph is how much power am I creating right this second. This is how much RPS I'm creating for how much power I'm creating, all right? And then this is how long does it take me to overheat, okay? And the longer it takes to overheat, the greater the likelihood of you being able to cool it. All right, good. So you'll see a lot of people, and this is what they do. You see especially a lot of new players who don't understand gearing. What they're going to do is they're going to run their engine 1-to-1. They don't understand gears yet, so they just hook an engine to a tire, right? And they're running it at, you know, sometimes you hear people, I'm at 60 RPS. I'm like, first of all, how do you hear at that point? You notice if you're running at a high RPS, but a low load, right? So 1-to-1 is actually not that low of a load. That's a pretty high load, right? If you down geared it, you would be at a low load. But if you're running at a high RPS, low load, where you're down gearing, that's your time to overheat. As you start to increase your load by increasing the gear ratio, right, your time to overheat starts going down as your RPS goes down. You notice these two lines are pretty close to descending at the same rate. As you start to increase that gear ratio, notice how much your efficiency goes up. All right? And so right here, this is a 3-to-1. At a 3-to-1, you're making peak power, but look, your RPS has not gone down very much. So your RPS has only gone down from here to here, but you've really, really increased the load, and that, obviously, you have high RPS, high load, you're going to overheat very quickly. Once you start to become more efficient with your gearing, reducing RPS and reducing load, you start to get to a point where you get very high overheat times. So that's why when you're doing a car, if you put a proper transmission in, you can run it without any cooling and you have no problem, because what you do is you start out in a very low gear, and yes, you would overheat if you stay in that low gear for a long time, but you're not going to stay in that low gear for a long time. You're going to shift to the next gear. You shift to the next gear, and bingo. Bingo, 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 bingo. And generally with a car, you're going to get to about here. All right? And so now you're cruising, you don't have to worry about overheating. So as you can see, this is a pretty dense, thick topic. It's hard for me to make any sort of coherent video where I could just like, where people would be interested to watch for a considerable amount of time. So I've done it in live streams before, but I just don't think it's worth the time to go in there and screw around with trying to finish that video. It's not worth my time. All right, so let's get back to this. All right, we're at 91 degrees. We're not rising. We're barely rising. As you can see, where did we start? We started here. We're here. This boat's going to have no problems overheating. And again, to compare it to that chart, we're currently running, I think we've got a 9.5. So real quick, let's do the math on the gearing on this boat. I'll look at it in a second. 9 divided by 5 equals 1.8. So one turn of the engine, 1.8 turns of the propeller. If we look at the chart, a 1.8. Now, with the test, I ran it at 21 RPS. Look where my RPS is, 9. All right, so I'm a pretty low RPS. I have a pretty low amount of load, right? It's only 1.8. And so I can run these engines for a very long time before they'll ever overheat. So this should not have any problem. You see, we're still going up in temperature, but what's going to happen when I get to my overheat protection? It'll protect me. And so I could run this all day, but I'm not going to bother. This may or may not ever overheat. So, all right, good. That test's complete. I figured we'd talk about something else while we were running that test, because it's just me sitting here talking, or I can run the test and talk. Let's see. Hello, Skyno Man. How are you? Yeah, I see the check you had. And yeah, you guys couldn't see it. I could see it because I had the overlay up. So, all right, that's good. So we got the cooling is complete. We can check that off our list. Let's look at the anchor. Thought I put an anchor controller in there. Maybe not. Hey, cats are fighting. Stop fighting, fools. All right, that's RGB. I have nothing hooked up to this anchor yet. All right. So I have a bunch of anchor systems, but what I'm going to do is, let me see if I have something. I could walk you through it instead of rebuilding it, or I can rebuild it. So, all right, here's an anchor. What? That's from 23. I'm just going to make a new one here. All right, here's a new anchor. All right, so let's build the anchor itself. All right, we need a magall. What happened to that? I just delete it. All right, there it is. What happened? What the fuck does this keep disappearing? That's what I want to know. What is? Why is that disappearing? Oh, because okay, it's too far forward. That's why. All right, it was just too far forward. All right, that's why it was in the boundary area. That's why. All right. All right, so we'll do a cable. We'll do on off to there. All right, that's good. Electricity is gonna go there. Electricity for this. I'm just hooking everything up to battery now. Not a good idea. It's going to do a hierarchy. You want to make an actual electrical system, but I'll do that later. All right, so that's powered, and we're going to do a cable. All right, cable's there for the anchor. All right, and let's go ahead, and we want to make this anchor here, and then I'll make this a module, so it'll be a little bit easier. Anchor. All right, we need on and off, and then pretty much composite, I would say. Keep it simple. I'm not going to do as much stuff as I've done on some other anchors. Like some of my other anchors, I'll put if it tells you if it's attached or not. I'm not going to worry about all that nonsense. And when it attaches, it stops paying out. But all right, that's going to be... All right, that's that. All right. All right, so I'll walk you through this in a second here. All right, so essentially what's going to happen is you're going to have a panel. It's going to have two buttons. One's going to be an up arrow, one's going to be a down arrow. When you press the up arrow, right, it's going to send an up signal here. It's going to count up to 1. When it's 1, it's anchor in. When it's out 2, it's anchor out. So that's good. So what's going to happen is when you press the up button, it's going to click this up-down counter to 1. And the pulse makes it only do 1 press per button press. So you press the button up once, it will go up, and it will go to 1. When this reads a 1, it's going to make the anchor go in, or up. When you press 2, that's the down arrow, saying you want your anchor to go out. It's going to give 1 press, and it's going to go to -1. All right, because we'll start at 0. When it reads -1, it will go ahead and will go out. Now, you don't want this winch running all the time, right? Or you say, I put out enough cable. So say I press down, the anchor goes to the bottom and touches. Then I want to press up once, and it will stop, okay? And we need to add some stuff here. Let's go there. I just need to add one quick thing. All right, last thing to add here is we want to do an if we want to turn the mag on. And so this one I can keep real simple here. This is mag on. All right, so that's mag on. And so what we'll do here is we'll make a condition for mag on. All right. So for mag on, there's only 2 conditions I want the mag on, all right? I want the mag on if I'm sending it down. No, not if I want it down. Let me look. I'm trying to think, because that will hook on the boat. So let's make it 0. So if it's in the 0 position, because when I'm going along, I don't want that anchor flapping around, causing damage, or just being annoying, flapping in the wind. So what it will do is when I'm in the 0 position, the magnet will turn on, and it will adhere to the boat, so it will be stowed. When I push it down, it will shut the magnet off. And then when I think it's at the bottom, I will press it to the 0 position, it adheres. When I go up, it shuts the magnet off, it lets me reel in. As soon as I put it back to 0, it will shut off and adhere to the boat. So real simple there. Let's do that. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. I'm just got to do that for my own brain's sake. Putting them in order. All right, good. So that's all that is. Let's start attaching this up. And we'll do a panel in a second here. All right, so we've got mag on. So what you're going to do is go to the on-off input. That's going to send it through the cable. It's going to cause the on-off input here, which will then toggle the magnet. We've got anchor in, which is up, and we got anchor out, which is down. Real simple. We're going to make a panel here. All right. And I'm just going to put it... I'm just going to put it here for now. Again, we'll clean this up. We'll make this all better later. Again, it's just making something functional at the moment. All right, let's do anchor up. That's going to be an arrow button going up. It's going to be a push. It's going to be 1. It's going to be an arrow button going down. It's going to be a push. It's going to be 2. And this is going to also be nothing. All right, good. So that's that. That's going to get electricity. That's going to go composite here. All right, and let's check the magnet. Hopefully I didn't have any other purple business that's going to now be colored funky. All right, good. So let's go play with this magnet. Make sure that's plugged. Or this anchor. All right, good. I'll catch up a chat in a second. All right, so you hear how the anchor just adhered to the front of the boat? That's what we want, because we don't want it banging around. So when it's in the 0 position, it's going to grab the boat. It keeps it nice and stationary. If I go up, you hear that it went ahead and detached. All right, so now it's detached. If I go down one, it should see how the light's back on, and when we go moving, it will reattach the boat, and now we turn. It's not flopping too much. All right, we stop. We want to set the anchor. Notice it would have touched the boat and adhered again if I did it differently. So now that's going to just go down. Yes, a 3-state switch would be very useful. Yeah, I agree with that. Let me deal with Twitch here. Just ignore that for now. All right, so you see it sitting on the bottom of the water there? All right. So that, let's see if that's attached. The problem is sometimes it goes under the block of the ocean and it won't attach. But that one attaches fine, as you can see. So we're attached. So that works well as an anchor. Now let's go up with the anchor. All right, and that's it. Real simple, super simple anchor. Sometimes I'll put it so that it will show if it's attached or not. Really doesn't take that much extra to do. I have to put on, I have to send the signal out. That will tell if the anchor is attached or not, but I can hear the ding, so it tells me. All right, so let's go ahead and take this back to the workbench. Let's work on this a little bit more. All I want to do is, if I raise it up, I lose this anchor point here. Which I don't think, do I care if I lose that anchor point? It's the question. I don't think I do. I don't. So let's do this. I'm going to do this. All right, there we go. This here is just a cover because I don't like the look of that, the pipe being there. That's just a cover. All right, there we go. I just raised that up so that it's off the deck a little bit. All right, good. All right, good. So that's all set there, and I like that a little bit better up there. All right, good. So that we now have an anchor. We can cross that off our list. So again, that's something nice to be able to cross some things off the list. All right, so I'm trying to think if I should add anything right now or not. Let's keep going. So let's save this. See what I named it before. I'm trying to name it similarly. CBS B1 version 1.4. B1 V1.4. 1.4. Okay. All right, good. So that's done. All right, good. So we made some improvements to the boat. All right, so let's go back to our career game. I'm going to go use the facilities. Burb back. All right, I'm returned. Let's go ahead and lock that up there. All right, let's go ahead and I want to go back and I want to get rid of the override weather. Override time is off as well. Did I make any other options that I want to get rid of? Allow teleport. So if teleport is on, it might just be fast travel, but if no clip is on, teleport, fast travel, you can get missions pretty much anywhere. I think it might just be no clip, but it's good to disallow those so that your missions will spawn close to you when you're just starting out. All right, so we finished this mission. That mission's in the can. If we look at our money, we were at 107, I think, and now we're 116. So we made some good money on that mission. So let's go ahead and, you know, if I have to do something big to the vehicle, like I was doing that temperature test, I'll go in my custom game, but if not, we'll try to stay in here just to make it a little bit quicker. All right, so green tugboat requires service, and let's see where it is first of all. Okay, so that's close. It's $4 grand. People are like, oh, the money's not that great. That's pretty damn quick. You know, that's not far. Let's look where it is. We can turn on 3D waypoints and look. That is 5 kilometers. All right, so it's not that far. Let's go run and do it. It's at night again. I'm going to put some more things on my list, right? So seeing we've been driving around at night here, we want more lighting. So spots. I don't know if I did spots or not, but we'll put them on our list. And every time we complete a mission, we'll try to go ahead and do an improvement on our vehicle. Eventually, you get some bigger vehicles, more complicated vehicles. You can't do that. So, as I said before, go in, save before you go to a mission. All right. And then we'll be good to go. All right, so here is, it should be 12:05 same time. Okay, good. All right, we don't have any spotlights on here. We have our, this is our panel for our deck lighting. I think one of them doesn't have electricity. This deck light needs electricity. Got nav lights. That's a deck light that needs electricity. Let's hook up all the deck lights. Okay, these deck lights all had electricity. This one just wasn't hooked up. These are lights. I want to go like this. I'll eventually get these all connected up the way I want them. All right, we're plugged in there, and then that one should be. Yep, that one's got all the lighting. Okay, good. So we are missing spotlights. Let's start putting some spotlights on here. And I should be able to work that with one switch. All right, there's forward. Is that going to stick over more than I want? Yeah. All right, there's my spotlights. Let's plug those in. All right, those are good. And then I need to color the interior. This is where you see a lot of people have problems. You need to do additive to color them the color you actually want them. So, because I came in with that dark color, they're going to be really dark. So, all right, those are all done. And then let's take this. This is my lighting switch here. So we have lights on, lighter. That's nothing. And then dimmer will come here. We'll do spots. And we'll do a button. We'll do a toggle button. That's 1, 2. That one's 4. Make this one 3. All right, good. And then this should be the dimmer. Let's look, make sure we have space. We do. All right, good. This is going to be spots. So do another, you know, something to our boat here. All right, so I need 3. All right, there we go. Spots. Yeah, spots can go here. Now we have some spotlights, so it makes it a little bit more pleasant to run around at night. Perfect. Let's save this. We'll just keep it 1.4. I don't need a... It's a small edition. All right, here we go. All right, there are spotlights. Spotlights. Good, good, good. Reds for night. We can dim them out. Dimmer is not working. All right, dimmer's working backwards. All right, that's fine. All right, let's head out to that. It needs servicing. Do I have a torch? I do. Okay. I have not messed with Triton in a long time. Pretty much, what do you call it? Tethys took over for Triton. I was like, why are we going so slow? I'm like, oh yeah, the starboard engine's not on. Yeah, Tethys pretty much took over for Triton. I would absolutely love to build a new boat. That's one of the things that kind of got me back to the game, is building another new big boat. And I think the best way to do that is to play career build. So, all right, so we have a bearing to a heading. 356 will bring us to there. We're at 320, so we're going to go 356 to the right. 3, 5, 6, 7, right there. So we're going towards it now. Yeah, Triton Triton is incredibly laggy, and so that's kind of problematic. I love, I still love Triton, but I would love to. I'm gonna convert Tethys to diesel at some point. I don't like it as steam. I want it as diesel. I would like to build a new, probably maybe a smaller career boat. I gotta kind of figure out what I want. It needs to have a helipad. It needs to have the ability to launch boats, and I want it to be able to haul containers. So all that stuff is kind of on my wish list. One thing that'd be really neat is to make a modular helipad that can detach. And so what that would allow me to do is it would allow me, for example, I could pick the helipad off with the crane. I could put 2 containers on the deck, put the helipad back on, and then put 2 containers on top of the helipad. So I could either run it with containers and the helipad, put a helicopter on top, or I could put 4 containers on with the helipad being used. So that'd be kind of cool. Exactly. I need the coffee maker. All right, so here's the boat. Again, you'll get new players. They'll be like, oh my god, it's so far away. That's really not far away. It's just they're moving like super slow. Like, we're doing a pretty good speed. I forget what we're doing. I got a linear speed here somewhere. We're doing about 40 knots. So doing a good speed, 40 knots in this weather. Like, look at the weather. Doing 40 knots, so it's not bad. Yeah, especially with new players, I would recommend, you're not going to keep your builds forever. And if you notice, I took this build, we're iteratively building on it, getting better and better, but eventually we're going to want some other things. We're going to want, I don't know if I need a faster boat, but we need, maybe to hold a skiff, or we want to be able to hold a little land vehicle. We want a bigger boat. We want a helicopter. We want to start working on some land vehicles. And so, when I see a new player get in and they're like, I'm going to build the Titanic, like, that's fine. Those people are like doing model building. But like when somebody's in career and they're trying to build something enormous, it's much better to like build small, because especially your new builds aren't going to be very good. And they're not going to be very utilitarian. Where are we going here? One of them needs the thing here. Let me look. We're showing 336, 33. It's this one. Okay, it's that. That's something else. And so, especially when you're new, your first builds aren't going to be great. And you're not going to want to stick with them for very long. So it's like, make throwaway builds. And then as you get better and better, and as you get later in game, you can then start having some bigger, like, long-term builds. But, like, the weather's pretty bad here, and we're still doing about, you know, close to 40 knots. High 30s. All right, I'll show you the other cool thing with this anchor. It was funny, when I first started playing this game, this green tugboat was enormous to me. All right, so we're up against the tugboat now, right? There we go. We're just attached to it. So, are we detached? Let me attach. So, I gotta press up and then down. All right, we should be attached now. All right. I might just attach my own hull, but yeah, just attach my own hull. That's fine. All right, I need a repair tool. But yeah, that's, you know, it's a big thing with new players is you're not keeping your builds for very long. They're amateur builds, frankly, and you're going to play with them for a little bit. You're going to want to go and you're going to want to iterate and build something new and different. So don't be too precious with them, because you're just not going to use them for very long. You want to be able to move on to the next thing, frankly. And so just build something that works and then move on to the next thing, you know. Have it do a small number of jobs. It doesn't have to do an insane number of jobs. And then you can make more complicated builds when you kind of get that little bit of experience. All right, let's radar up there. Yeah, the other thing is, like, when people say the payouts aren't that good, we just got, I thought it said 4,000. Let's see what. Yeah, I just finished the refuel. Okay, I didn't bring enough. I didn't bring the stuff to refuel. Crap. So we're not gonna be able to get the other 2,000. But you know, for the amount of fuel, when you make something that's super inefficient fuel-wise, which most people do to start with because they don't know how to gear properly, or they want to go 9 million miles an hour, you burn more fuel than you made in the mission, so it seems like you didn't make that much. If you start building some efficient stuff, you don't need to that much money because you make pretty good money. I was just seeing if there's anything I want to steal here. We don't have anything to refuel. I should have read that before, but we'll put that on my list. So we'll do offload. We'll do refuel missions. All right, we can cross out spots. We get that done. So refuel missions. So that's something we can add to this boat, the ability to pump off fuel. I can't pump off this boat, so can't do that part of the mission, but we got some of it done. All right, let's go ahead and get out of here. Again, people complain about the ropes causing their boats to tip over. Like, oh my god, I have this huge ship and it caused my boat to tip over. Like, I have no problem with it, but I also run my game on high physics, where your game should be run on, so I've never experienced that issue, so I don't know what the dealio is. All right, here we go. So, for example, you know, one of the things that is useful on a boat, like, if you think about it, we just did a mission, right? But this is not a live-aboard boat. This is just a boat we can go do a run with, right? So if we could have a bed on this boat, we could sleep until a new mission came out. We wouldn't have to go back to our base. And that makes your boat a, you know, a mobile base. And so that's one thing you might want to do is you create your boat to be a mobile base by having a bed. Now, I could just put a silly-looking bed on top of this, or I could do what's frankly better and build a new boat at some point with a cabin. And so then you get into a boat with a cabin, well, you can sleep, get a new mission, and you never have to go back to base. So that's important. You know, that's a big part of having fun in career. Like, a lot of people don't understand how you have fun in career without goals. Well, you do have goals. You make them yourself. And so like my goals are, for example, I'm going to write down new boat. New boat is going to be cabin, right? And I want it to be able to tow. And I want it to be a little bit larger. And I want it to have a crane. And I want it to be able to hold a car, right? And a skiff. All right, so those are just a bunch of things I just came up with what I want for my next boat, right? I want my boat to be different enough from this boat to make it worthwhile making a new boat, spending the time and using that, right? So that's a new goal I just came up with right now. New boat. That's a goal I have right now in my career game. All right, so let's come up with some new goals. All right. In order to make a bigger boat, this one pretty much fills up, not the full beginner base, but a lot of it. So another goal is going to be bigger base. All right, so I want a bigger base. I want to be able to spawn larger boats. All right, another one, planes, cars, oil. All right, so right there, I just gave myself hundreds of hours of gameplay in a couple seconds, right? And so what I recommend people do is do short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. And if you have short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals for each of your play sessions, that's going to make it so that you don't get bored as easily, at least. And so my short-term goal this particular play session was to go do some missions, and we're doing that, and improve my boat. Those are my short-term goals. I just came up with a medium-term goal, which is a new boat. Another medium-term goal is a bigger base, right? Longer-term goals are going to be things like home ships, things like multiple bases, right? Oil. Oil is going to be a bunch of work because I have to, I already have some oil rigs and refineries that work, so I don't need to come up and start building those things. I can use ones I've already built. But those are longer-term goals if you don't have those built, right? Having your own island and making your own base on an island, that's a long-term goal. A home ship where it holds a helicopter and holds containers and has a crane and holds skiffs and rescue boats and can have really elaborate systems, that's a long-term goal. And it gives you a reason to go earn money. Same thing you'd do in life, right? A short-term goal might be have fun today, right? Whatever that means. And then a medium-term goal might be, save X number of dollars. And then once you've done that, okay, well, now I'm going to save for a house, and then you get a house. And then what's your goal? Well, maybe I want to redo the kitchen, right? So it's the same thing. It gives our lives meaning IRL. You can do it in game, and that's how you keep interested in game, just like you keep yourself interested in life. Hello, Owl. How are you? Yeah, I don't do modded workbenches. It's just, again, I like, Tethys, Triton, those ships are plenty big for me. I don't need anything bigger. It's just not my thing, modded workbenches. Like, I would like a taller hangar so I could put some proper tails on some planes, but again, I don't really have gameplay for that. Yes, I agree with Daniel's comment. Have test beds to isolate the mechanics. That's kind of like when I was going over the cooling. Is if you have some test beds and you can test some things, you start to learn the mechanics of what's going on, and you can make better systems. I've been playing too much 7 Days to Die. I thought I could just walk up the ladder. All right, so this is another thing we need to do. Look at our fuel. We have 2,100 liters of fuel. Now, because I've built a fuel-efficient boat, I'm not using insane amounts of fuel. But we have to consider what a new player might do. A new player might use insane amounts of fuel, and that's when, they talk about, oh my God, I'm out of fuel. What do I do now, right? So one thing you do is I recommend add the custom menu. All right. Adding the custom menu is very simple. I have a video on it. when you add the custom menu, you can go to infinite resources and you can spawn your boat. It will fill with fuel and you don't have to pay for it. So if you are not ready to get a new base yet, if you're not ready to go do oil drilling, you can just do infinite resources if you want. You could fill a box with fuel right here in base. Let's do that. I'll show you what you can do. Let's do this. Let's bring this back. We were 2100 something, right? I think this is updated. Let me just do this real quick. All right, so I'll show you what you can do right here. So we're at 3220. Okay, that was the fuel from the boat. Got taken off. It's in the storage now. All right. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go in here. We're gonna go infinite resources. We're gonna go in here and we're gonna make a box. All right. Real simple. Bump. Bump. I'll keep this real simple. We're just going to make a box. There's my box. I'm going to take a spawner. I'm going to stick a spawner in here. All right, there's my box of fuel. All right, my box of fuel just dumped in there. I have infinite resources on. You notice it didn't use any of my fuel. I'm going to come in here. I think this works. Let me double check. All right, that's now off. See if it went in. There it is. That's literally all you have to do if you run out of fuel. So, you know, especially when you're new and you are not as good as building yet, you're not as quick building, you're not as quick to make money and then be able to move on to things like oil. You can do this, and it took all of 10 seconds. Shit, I should have saved first. I should have saved first so I don't have all this fake fuel. But what we can do is this. Watch this. Real simple to fix this. Here's my box. Spawn my box. We're now back to 3220, right? And I go over here. Let's see. I think how to get this back. I can do clean all vehicles. I don't want to do that though. I'm trying to think what I could do. It's up here. Let me see. Allow teleport vehicles. Allow vehicle cleanup. All right, now we can go in here. And why is it not showing? I don't know why it's not showing. Yeah, I don't know why that's not showing. So what I'm going to do is this. Alright, that should take the fuel back out. Okay, it added a little bit. Why is it not showing the vehicle? That's fucking weird. Where's that box again to make a vehicle out of it? Keep active block. It's not that. Why is it not showing the vehicle on my map? This is weird. I know they changed something with one of these. Map icon block. Vehicle tracking block on the vehicle will show up on the map. That's the one I want. All right. So the helm doesn't. I thought the helm might do it, but that might be different now. All right, so now we've got rid of that fuel. We're back to 3220. Got that in there. What the fuck's it not showing on the map? Oh, I know why. It's me. It's me being stupid. Map vehicles. That's it. Map vehicles, all it was. All right, we take this and we clean up the vehicle. The fuel stays the same. That disappears. So that's all you got to do if you accidentally do that. So I'm rusty. All right, good. So let's go ahead and save this, and we'll save it as a backup. All right, so I alternate between backup and regular. This one still has the date. I should change the date. But what are we on here? 8/12. We're now on 10/21. Oh, it's inversed. All right, there we go. All right, good. So we have a save there, and now, so that's all you have to do if you have. So I recommend, especially new players, go ahead and put the custom menu in there. The custom menu will really make it so much easier, because you saw how with infinite resources, I could make a box that has 1,000 fuel if I just want enough to get back. You can turn on infinite fuel to get your vehicle back to base, and instead of ruining your playtime, you can go ahead and just change a couple settings, get back to base, call it a learning experience, and then you're not frustrated. All right, let's see what we want to add. Refuel missions we want to add to this this boat. We might actually just go back and do that. All right, so we have a fuel system here, but what we don't have is the ability to pump out. And what I might make this is a pump in, pump out system. So what we'll do is we will go. I'm just going to make it up because I'd have to change the color too, and I don't want to do that. All right. We'll make a pump in, pump out system so that if we needed to pump the fuel into our system, we can do that. That will allow us to use jerry cans. That's actually a good idea. So this is pump out. Pump out. The arrow button up. We'll make it a toggle. That's going to be 1. You'll pump out. That's going to be an arrow button. That's going to be down. So into the boat. So that one goes out of the boat. One goes into the boat. Kind of a good design language on that. It's going to go down. It's going to be 3. All right, that's good. I want to color those. Let's make them... Stop. All right, so that'll be my pump in and out. That will allow me to do these missions too, which will be good. And what we'll do is we'll make that a none. We'll make that a none. All right, good. That will be good. And then what we want to do is we want to put a pump system in here. And so let's see where I want to do this. So that's going to the back there. That's not helpful the way I did this. It's not a bad fix though. I talked about earlier where a lot of people make mistakes or errors in their hull design where they put their fuel tanks in the front or the back. Your fuel tanks should be at your center of gravity. So as you burn fuel, the boat goes straight up. And that makes it so that it doesn't, the bow doesn't come up, the stern doesn't go down, it doesn't ruin your maneuverability really. It just goes straight up and down as you burn fuel or don't burn fuel. All right, that's all I need to do there. That's good. All right, then this here is going to come off that, and we will put a pump system. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right. And then what we'll do here is we'll do a pumps and valves, essentially. I could do 2 pumps, or I could do pumps and valves. I'm trying to think what I want to do. Valves aren't... It's just so much easier to do 2 pumps. It's a little less elegant. I don't like that it's not elegant, but it is just a lot easier work-wise to not have to do that. So let's do this. Yeah, it's less elegant to do it this way, but again, they're not really like we don't have any real expenses in game. That's kind of a something I wish we did. I wish we had some expenses in game, like for example, the pumps actually being expensive, but they're not. They're pretty damn cheap, and because of that, you end up like you don't really care if you use 2 pumps or 1 pump because they don't cost anything. Um, so if they actually had some reasonable cost associated with them, you would want to use valves. Because the pumps are cheap, you don't care, and so it's not a big deal. It's just I wish that certain components were more expensive, but then you'd have a lot of people complaining that oh my god, everything costs so much. So I get it, but kind of my own thing. All right. So again, valves are a little more elegant, but this is just simpler. That's going to be my inflow pump. That'll be my outflow pump. All right. Make sure that's where it belongs. Yep, that's good. All right, good. So there's my pump. Weight might be shifted a touch, but these pumps really aren't that heavy. They are 4. So you're talking 8. Talking 8 and then a little bit of piping. So if you took some, so that's 16. If you took a couple weight blocks and you went like that, you're pretty much back to level. So pretty simple balancing on that. Let's go ahead and I'll do electrical systems at some point, but until then, I'm just hard connecting. All right, and then real quick, microcontroller. I'll just put this one down here for now. Fuel pump. Fuel pumps. All right, so that's going to need a panel and then 2, so that's 3 long. That's good. We want to go. That's pump in. And this one's going to be a panel. That's fine. All right, so pump out is going to be 1, and then that's 3. It's good to see everybody here. I'm glad to see everybody. I've been missing some stormworks and missing hanging out with everybody. It's good to see everybody. All right, so that's good. That's simple. That's in. All right, that'll allow us to do these missions. All right, pump out is going to be this direction. Pump in is going to be this direction. That will allow us to say, for example, pump from a jerry can, because the can won't have its own pump system, and this will give us that. Electricity from there to that panel, and then composite from here to there, and then bingo, we've got ourselves a pump system. Now I need a hose, and we'll go right here. All right, very nice. All right, good. So we've added that pump system there for refuel missions, so we can cross that off the list. And we test it real fast like this. recommend testing stuff. A lot of people don't test, and then they get out to their mission and get frustrated that doesn't work. Again, all a gas relief valve is it's just a valve that only allows gas out. The relief will happen regardless. That's going to clear out the air because as we pump fluid in, gas is a fluid. As we pump diesel in, it's going to compress the air, and the air is pushing back, making it harder to do the diesel. So that's why, a lot of people don't understand that either. All right, let's go ahead and pop this real quick. We'll do a fast test. All right, good. So this tank should be empty. It is. You see it has no stored fluid. We should have a full tank of fuel here. I got a rope on me. Right. Grab the hose, hook the hose, hook the hose. I'm going to pump out. There it goes. So now we can pump from our storage tanks in here. So there goes the diesel. We're at 122. Bingo, we're full. I got to make sure that's a toggle. That's just not a toggle, so we can see it. As you see, we're pumping out. So test is complete. Good, good, good. So that's right there. Now we've just got another mission type we can do, so that's very nice. All right, that's going to be a toggle. We're going to save this. All right, we'll spawn it. We'll go do that mission again. Oh, good. We got somebody to kick on Twitch. Shocker there. Bot City in Twitch, huh? Be nice if Twitch would finally take care of these friggin' bots. Alright, I'll get moving on the boat and then I'll check chat because I can do two things at once. Alright. All right, 358. That's going to be the left. Oh, where am I? 358. All right, we're good. We're on our way. We'll be there in just under 3 minutes. Yeah, sailing, of course, best field fishing, yep. Yeah, I like the workbench size constraints, but I'm also not some sort of weird purist who tells other people how to play the game. Like, you want to do some weird shit? Do some weird shit. Like, I might be like, why are you doing weird shit? And then you're like, I like weird shit. I'm like, okay. I've got no argument against that. Like, when you do something weird, like you build an airplane weird, I'm like, why are you doing that? And they're like, oh, I didn't know that's weird, you know. All right, we are currently, what are we showing? About a 1. We're off a little bit. All right, there we go. So as you can see, we got some pretty strong storms here. This boat does have the stability system I put in all my boats, pretty much. Yeah, like Aaron talking about using that trick for refueling bases. It's really like, add the custom menu, play the game, enjoy the game. You know, if you want to take the training wheels off at some point and make it so you actually have to go refine fuel, great. If you don't, if you have no interest in that gameplay, you know, the people who constantly bitch about, oh my god, I can't just buy fuel from my base. I get it. You know, things aren't the way you want them. Great. So instead of whining about it, go and do what we just did. You know, spawn a box of fuel, fill your base. So we're just traveling too fast here. I'm gonna slow down. Fill your fuel with your base with fuel. All right. It used to be, I think, $1 a liter or something out of your base. I can't remember what it was. So we just spawned 32,000 liters of fuel. Go in your save file, delete $32,000. Done. Right? Like, I would love the devs to add the pasture missions like I talked about. They haven't done that. So one thing I could do is I could make an add-on in 2 seconds. I'll show you guys maybe. Make an add-on in 2 seconds. I don't know if you guys can see me in the add-on editor. Probably not. But I can put passengers, I can put NPCs just in a group at a certain location. And that is now my passengers. And what do I'm going to have to go and load them in seats. That was the nice thing about Stormlink. But, I can put all these people in seats, and then I can fly them up there, and I can say that a trip from FJ Warner to Tajin is worth, I don't know, $100 per person. First class, maybe $500. And I put all the passengers in their seats, and then, I give myself that end of money. I take out a notepad, and I say, okay, that was worth $25,000. And then at the end of my missions, I go in my save file and give myself the money. Is it ideal? Is it perfect? No, but it's something you can do, right? I know I did something that's sacrilege in Stormworks. I slowed down, but you notice how the boat was going out of control? Slow down, and it fixes that problem half the time. A lot of people are just, they don't want to slow down. It's like, what do you think boats and planes and cars do when the road's bumpy? They slow down. All right, there's a speed in my jet that we go when the turbulence is up. We got a turbulence penetration speed, and we slow down when it's bumpy, so we don't break the airplane or hurt people. And so if you get going too fast, just slow down, and you can ride the waves better. Same thing you do in a real boat when it gets too rough. You slow down. All right, just saw the boat. Where is it? I pass it? I must have passed it. Showing 104, I passed it. 116. Yeah, it's right there. I passed it. There we go. All right, so we need to refuel this boat. I got to find where the refueling port is here. So I just tied off so we could get some work done. But let's find. Okay, so right there's the diesel for them. Let's make sure the mission's still active. Should be. All right, let me get rid of that. I don't need this. Map vehicles, allow teleport vehicles spawning, map vehicles, all that's off now. All right, so there's my diesel. I see the best way to do this here. I think it's going to be going from the tug because I'm jumping down. Because I do get kind of back pressure from the hose. The hose is trying to pull me. It's got resistance, so I got to kind of get to my ladder. So let's see. Come on, grab the ladder, you dick. Oh, Christ. Keep getting the cue, and then I miss it. You know, you could put a winch on there if you wanted, but I don't want to. All right. Hopefully it doesn't take all my fuel. I don't know how much this thing is going to take. I know some people had problems with this, but there's other things you can do. Infinite resources. Your tanks won't drain. You can do infinite fuel to get back. Again, it's like, people call them cheats, but again, you're playing by yourself and you're trying to learn the game. Like, I've never done one of these missions, these refuel missions. So, you know, I can either get frustrated by it or say, hey, this is my first time. I'm going to quote-unquote cheat to learn the mission, and then next time I'll make sure that I bring enough fuel for this thing, you know? You know, instead of being too precious about it. But it's thermals, baby. Use their head while we're here. I hate this clipping business. Like, what's the point of this? Why clipping things in? It's weird. I don't like it. I don't like the clippage. Yeah, it's silly. All right, let's see if there's a gauge for that or not. Battery fuel liters. Why is that not going? Somebody said that some of these missions don't work because there's probably, like, connection could be bad. I gotta look. All right, we got a one-way valve. We are filling with diesel. It's just not showing the gauge. We got fluid pressure sensors. These are not vented, I don't think. And then worst case, we can take our diesel back if this mission doesn't go. But it looks like it's filling. Yeah, it's filling, so. Yeah, we have two of these tanks, and they have 4, so. Anything else I want? There's a hose there. Engine room. Fix the radar already. It says refuel and conduct repairs on the green tugboat. I'm curious if the mission finishes when the tanks are full or the or this gauge, because the gauge isn't showing. So if it doesn't, the mission doesn't finish, we will not worry about it. But again, it's making our build better. Okay, here's fuel. What the fuck is this then? Okay. So I'm filling this fuel here. Is there another fuel place? Yeah, we're filling that one, so that gauge is working. I don't know what the other gauge is about. Let's see if there's another fill point. I don't think so. I think that's just a funky gauge, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't understand people's issue with ropes. Like, I've been roping the stuff constantly for a long time and have no issues, and some people like, my big boat tips over. I don't get it. And I believe it happens to them. It's probably, is it low physics setting they have on or what? Yeah, there's no venting ports in this boat, so. You know, as the devs, they could have put some magic in here where it just vents out, because, like, the pressure is coming up, but it's not terrible either. Let's go look in our boat and see what we have for fuel left. I should have put a gauge. I was going to put a gauge. I'll do that. Let's put that on our to-do list. Put a fuel gauge right there. All right, so fuel gauge. Fuel gauges. I'll do 2. I'll do 1 for either tank. But that adds something cool that our boat can do now that it used to not be able to do. Right, we switch off our lights here. We don't need them. There we go. All right, mission complete. All right, so the mission's complete. Refuel and conduct repairs on green tugboat in the ocean. Repair radar, Erie tug. All right, so the mission's complete. We just got our cash. Taking my fuel back. Taking my fuel back here. I don't think that's... It won't take its money back. Maybe it's... Oh, it's got a one-way valve in there. Yeah, it's got a one-way valve. That's what they did to fix that. So you can't take your fuel back. Yeah, they put a one-way valve in there. Yeah, but again, I don't get this people having problems with ropes. Like, you see me having any issues with ropes here? No. Yeah, I believe it happens to people, but also it could be that they run on low physics all day. Like a bunch of weirdos. I bet you, I probably have the biggest tanks and it has 4 of the medium tanks. I bet that's what it is. Because I thought I had 1,000 liters on this thing. This thing has got a lot of fuel, got a lot of fuel, and it's very fuel efficient. So, all right, we got a bearing of 176, and 176 is just east of south. So again, just east of south, just east of south. You know, basic navigation. Bearing navigation, GPS navigation, we got all of them on here. And that's the best way for you to actually learn some of these like navigation skills, is to kind of use them and just see how they relate to one another. Yes, I think it would be nice to refine some of the new models. You know, I understand why the devs don't reach out to the community for help on some of these things. You know, but also, like, the community is a good resource. Like, they could ask some people, hey, you know, we're going to have a building competition for, we need a boat for a refuel mission. It needs to be X file size to keep things small. Like, it would be kind of cool to have a couple of rooms you can go explore, but we want to make sure it's as friendly to the system as possible. And you build a craft for that mission. And they pick the one that they want, you know. And it'd be kind of cool, and you know, you get some prestige for it. You know, your build got put in the game. You know, I think that's a cool thing. It's a way to get back to the community, and it's also take some of the work off of them. But I haven't had a chance to watch Alistair's challenge video. That was a fun challenge. Glad Alistair had that challenge. I know how much work they are. I didn't have the time to work on my build to get it up to the quality I want it. What I'll do is I'm still not going to throw that build away. We're actually going to use it in the career build series. I will, you know, crabbing is frankly an OP way to make money now, because you, was it Jerry Fan? What his name is? Who does the builds that are all like... I had a little friction with him with my challenges, just because he always tried to get around the rules, and I eventually told him, I'm like, dude, you just try to get around the rules. I appreciate what you build, but you try to go around the rules, and I'm like trying to make it fair for everybody. You know, I won't name them, but you know, yeah, some people are like, they just try to make something that gets around the rules all the time, and I get it, but it's like, I don't like money printers in this game, and I would make my challenges so that they were not money printers. And so when somebody's constantly just trying to make money printers, it's like, that is completely going against the spirit of the challenge, you know. But some very cool builds for that. All right, let's see. We got a 164. We're a little bit off. We got about a half a mile. So it's foggy, but we should be able to see it pretty soon here. 162. Get on the money. And then we got half a mile. Yeah, so anyways, my topic, I got a little bit off there, but it was like, you know, crabbing right now is OP because the devs took away the soak time on it. It probably was, again, because people were whining like, it takes too long to crab. It should take some time, man. There should be some soak time on there. Like, IRL, you need the crab to come to the traps and get in the traps, and you need some time on the traps, and that's called the soak time, how long the pots are soaking in the water. And it's essentially instant. Like, the pot fills up. By the time you put the pot in the water, it's already filled up. So, you know, people are making, like, money printers that essentially just sit there at the sell point, and they just fill with crab instantly. And that's boring as shit, frankly, as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, I like the devs to make it so that I talked about this the last stream was what I'd like to actually see is you have high value, like say lobsters only in the Arctic, and you have to go to the Arctic, and because lobster would be prevalent in the Arctic, and there aren't many people living in the Arctic because it's the Arctic, the price to sell fish and lobster in the Arctic is dirt cheap, like 10 cents a lobster. But when you come down to the very highly populated cities of Sawyer Islands, lobster here by this fishing village where there's a lot of people living, lobster will be $10 a lobster, $20, $30 a lobster because there's a high demand, but no lobsters are in this area. And then down here, in the middle of nowhere, right, lobster wouldn't be worth much, but certain cities, like here, right, lobster would be worth the 20, 30 bucks, and there's no place to get it. So you have to get lobster here, and guess what? Cool game mechanics of get something valuable from point A to point B. You go and you get a bunch of lobster. You could sell it here for like 1/100th or, you know, even less, 1/3 of 100th of the price. Or what you could do is put your lobster into a boat, fly it, put it into an airplane, fly it down here where it's very valuable, drive it from here to there, sell it, make big money. And that makes it so that it's worth your time to go all the way up to the Arctic, get lobster, put it on a plane, fly it down here, put it on a truck, drive it over here, because you make a lot of money. And then you could have a very cheap mud crab right here. But guess what? It's worth 10 cents even to put it here. And so, yes, it's almost worth nothing, but you take it from here to here to here to here, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And because it's so close to the place, you make pretty close to the same amount of money, maybe say 30% less than you would going up and doing lobster. So it rewards you for having extra vehicles. It rewards you for your time to go up to the Arctic, get lobster, put it on a plane, put it on a truck, deliver it. This where you're just driving it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's very low effort. It's very low money, but you can do a lot of repetition, and that repetition gets you pretty close to equal money, but still less because it gives you a reason to go do more things. All right, let's look. I'm looking, yeah. Yeah, I forget what Aaron's build was for Alpha. How fast are we flying? We're going about probably around 40 knots. All right, so one thing you can do as well, if you want to get every last drop of fuel, is put it back in the base. I don't care that much about it. All right, so good. We got another mission done. So first thing we're going to do is save. All right, save, and then I changed the date, so I'm going to go ahead and make it my other copy. It's a good practice to not lose all your builds or corrupt your saves. I've got lots of saves. We're down to 1804 because we put most of that fuel into the tugboat, right? So was that worth $2,000? Probably not, but again, I'm doing part of it for fun. All right, so let's go ahead and let's put some fuel gauges in. All right, let's do fuel total. Fuel total in gallons. We're going to put a gauge. And then 4 is going to be low fuel. All right, good. We're going to put an indicator. All right, we will go ahead and we will make that amber. We're going to make this green. We'll go ahead and we'll index this gauge. So I got to figure out how much fuel's in there. That's going to be 2. That's 4. All right, good. So I got to figure these two out. I think they're 750s each. I think they're 750s. What we can do here is real quick. Go ahead and save this. And then what's that? This is fuel, right? Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. All right, port and starboard fuel. All right, so we got port and starboard fuel here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring that into a function. All right, so we want to do x plus z. All right, z, that's going to add those two together. All right. All right, so that's x plus z, and then we're going to see what liters per 2.2 liters per gallon. No, it's let me see. L to G. Oh my God. It always does liters to gram. Liter to gallon. 3.785. All right. All right. 3.785 is going to make liters to gallons. All right. And then what I want to do is trying to think. I forget how to do this to do the. I'm trying to think up a 10%. I got to figure out the max anyway. So let's do this. All right, there we go. All right, and then we'll work this in a second. Yeah, I like this method of just consistently, you know, every time you bring your build back in, especially when you're kind of making a new build, try to just update a little bit here and there. You know, it's a good way to do it where it keeps it pretty, makes it fun. It's like, you know, instead of like overwhelming where you work 10 hours on a build, you know, adding all the stuff to it, you just like, okay, I just went and did a mission. I could use this, add that, you know, go do another mission. You know, it keeps you rolling. All right. I shouldn't be doing this in the save because I'm going to eat up fuel doing this, but... All right, so it took the liters. What? Maybe it is 120s per. Let me stand by to this. Again, why I put in the custom menu into my career game is I can do all this no clipping stuff and then just test. All right. See, what the fuck? 651 liters. 651. These are 720s, I think. Let's pump some more fuel in. I'm gonna pump these in. That's max these suckers out. I don't know why that's reading as low as it's reading. Now that is in gallons. Okay, that's good. So about 372 gallons. So we'll do 375. All right, that'll work. All right, 375 gallons. Oh, I missed the ladder. So just a cool bit of physics as well, right? Those tanks are ventilated. No, they're ventilated outside. Okay, yeah, that doesn't matter. I was gonna say I thought I was venting the tanks into the compartment, but I'm not. So if I ventilated the tanks into the compartment, right, the air would go out in the compartment, increasing the pressure in the compartment. But then when the fuel got used, it would go back in. You'd actually be pressurizing your fuel system. 1-to-1, be kind of interesting. Alright, let's not bother with this shit. Do this. So I did make a save when I came back, so if I used up too much fuel despawning the boat, I could easily just bring that save back too. Alright, so 375, is that what I said? Yeah. Alright, so 375. So 375. All right, 375 gallons go in there. All right, so let's make this interesting. All right, so let's make this interesting. So 375 is the total. I'm not gonna. I was gonna do a percentage, but I could still do it over here. I'll just do the math outside of the block. I was gonna put it so I could set a percentage for it. I may do it. I'm gonna do that. That might be interesting. All right, so we'll read the fuel. All right, B is gonna be. Let's see, max fuel level. So we did say 375 gallons. All right, and then. I think what I want to do here. Caution level. Say 20%. And that's how I need the new function block. trying to make a panel that I could use for more things later, so I want to make it kind of more detailed. Again, it's nice to start adding some details to these things, and you know, it makes your craft a little bit better. All right, so essentially what we're going to do here is we're going to take this is the current fuel level, right? And then we have our max fuel level is going to be the next one, and then our caution level, and then we want a warning level. So caution is just a heads up, and then warning is like, hey man, you're running out of fuel. So you know, like in the airplane, we get a caution message, which is yellow, and that's like, hey, something we got a bunch of them. We've got status messages. Status messages are like seatbelt signs on. We got advisory messages. Your fuel pumps are on. We've got caution messages. Your hydraulic system is low pressure. We have warnings. The engine is shut off. Engine oil pressure is low. You know, things like that. And so setting the level. So like a warning level will be 10%. So the light, what I want it to do is I want the light to come on solid when we're at the caution level, and I want to flash when we're at the warning level. So now I got to come up with formulas. All right, so I got to come up with something interesting here. So we have the max fuel level, we have the current fuel level. So let's take Yankee. I'm trying to think how to do this. This isn't the best way to do this. All right, so we'll take Yankee divided by X-ray. So say, for example, our fuel was 375, right? So 375 divided by 375 is 1, right? If my fuel was 35 divided by 375, we're at 0.09, right? So that's going to tell me, hey, you're below 10% warning. If my fuel was at, let's say, 100, and we divide it by 375, that's going to say you're at 26% fuel. So you're still above the caution level, right? If you said it's going to be 68 divided by 375, we're below the caution level. We're at 18% fuel. So that's how we'll do it. We'll do it this way. I was trying to set it up where I can't do a fed threshold is the problem. Because then I could set it, but I'll just do it this way. So we'll feed some thresholds. All right, so this is going to spit out the percent. What percent my fuel's at. All right, so first one we want is 20% to essentially 10.1. I want 10 to 0 on that. So those are our two thresholds, and then we want to write these up. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and I gotta blank one out. Blinker. And then we want to write an on-off. And this will actually be now it's that's Yankee or whiskey. All right, so that should work there. We'll play with the numbers here. All right, so that should work. I think we'll do red for this. Yeah, we'll do red for that. All right, so let's go ahead and play with this. So what we'll do is, so let's go to 19% on the tanks. Let's actually, we'll test them full first. All right, let's check where we're at here gallon-wise. Okay, we should not be at low fuel. Let's see what the fuck the problem is here with my math. Max fuel levels there, okay. X divided by, that's y, X divided by y. Okay, that's why. Should be the other way around, right? Let's see. So 350 divided by 375. Yeah, I've got it backwards for some reason. It should be X divided by Y. X divided by Y. All right, so we have 375. Let's say we have 350 divided by 375. That will give us 0.93. And that's why these are not points. That will be why. That was off anyways. That will fix it. All right. That will do it. All right. All right, so they're full-ish. Let's go down just below 20. So we should have a solid red. Solid red. Wish we could make those RGB. And then we'll go below 10%. And should be flashing. All right, good. So that's going to warn us when we're below 20%, we're going to get a solid red light. When we're below 10%, we're going to get a flashing red. Okay. Do we have space on this panel for something else? I can make as much space as I want, but I think I want to add a buzzer. I want to add a buzzer right now. All right, let's raid some jam. Is it better to have a small engine at full throttle or a big engine running at the same RPS? RPS is what matters. So throttle is irrelevant. What you should be doing is you should be having a PID that controls your throttle to give you the desired RPS. That's what you should have. Follow my tutorials for that. It is better for what is better? Like it, better is very subjective. For somebody who wants to go 70 knots in a boat, it is better for them to have a higher throttle because, or it's better for them to have a propeller moving faster because they go to 70 knots. If somebody wants fuel efficient, it is better to run at a lower RPS. If somebody's struggling to cool, it's better to have a lower RPS. So what are you trying to achieve is the better thing. Frankly, it's generally better in game to have a larger engine at a lower RPS. That's going to be the blanket statement. Let's put it that way. All right, let's move some of these around here. Put some of these away. All right, so good progress on that. We got fuel tank in. We got a warning system. I like it. What time is it? That's good. Yeah, you gotta explain what you mean by better. Like, what are you trying to achieve? That's the real question. But generally speaking, like you want a larger engine running at a lower RPS. It's gonna burn less fuel. It's gonna have a higher torque potential. It's going to create less heat. But again, without knowing what your goal is, if your ultimate goal is speed, then you're gonna have different conditions than if your ultimate goal is efficiency. If you want to blend of speed and efficiency, it becomes something different as well. All right, good. So that's good. Let's save this. Get that in there. All right, fuel gauges are in. We can check that off the list. Hello, Sergeant. How are you? All right. So something else I want to do. Eventually, I want to clean up the panel. All right. Autopilot is going to go on the list of things to do for this boat. AP. All right, good. So again, one of my goals, I talked about this when I first started this series, the 2025 one, was I want to kind of, especially these beginner boats, I don't want to be playing with forever. I want to kind of get this one dusted and then move on to something new, so. All right, that's good. All right, so let's see where we're at money-wise. We are at 120. So we're making good money. All right, so we're making pretty good money. Let's go ahead and we saved right when we got back from that mission, as we should. And then let's go get another mission. Making good money here, so. Green tugboat requires servicing in the ocean. We did that, so we're going to sleep through that one. We literally just did that one. Oh my, lightning. Yeah, fire. Let's see what this one's worth. Now, Okay, this one's way down here. Okay, so there's another thing that new players have issues with. They, oh my god, it's so far away. Yeah, that one's too far away. And the reason is I have no clip on. Get rid of no clip, and now they're back to now they'll be back to close. So all right, fire right next to ATC building at the Coast Guard output. Dispatch reports the fire from a small dumpster. All right. Where's that one? All right, that one's up here. All right, let's see what that one's worth. 30. No, it's property for sale. 30,000. five bones. That's not bad money. Let's go do that because we have not been there yet either, which means that there's a high likelihood that they're also crates. So the crates are worth some money. We're pretty low on fuel, so we're gonna make it part of our goal to get some fuel too. So let's do that if we can. We're not gonna go well out of our way to get fuel if we can't, but we got nice heavy seas. I like it. Again, that's a challenge that, you know, again, put it on your medium term, you know, short, medium, and long term goals. One of them can be, hey, I need to be able to start to go out in worse weather. You know, can be one of your goals. So. All right, 309, a little bit too far north here. Like, these are all incredibly close when you don't have that no clip on. This is within 3 nautical miles of our base. We'll be there in less than 3 minutes. You know, so I get it for a lot of new players because their boats are going like 3 knots. We're going 40 knots, a little less than 40 knots, about 30 knots. It doesn't take us that long to get places, but really, the distances are pretty short, especially early. All right, 308. You know, you see a lot of new players saying that, oh my god, you know, my boat gets flipped, the weather's too rough. Again, they're not going and sleeping in a bed. You don't have to do any mission you don't want to do. Like, we didn't want to do the green tugboat one again, so what did I do? Slept in a bed. If the weather conditions are too rough, sleep in a bed till the weather conditions are better. You know? You don't have to do any of the missions. Go do something else. Do a mission that is more your speed, right? Just as if the weather conditions were too rough outside, you're not going to go out there. Don't do it in game. You know, for those who might not have known, this hull was the hull from my hull tutorial series. You know, so like this boat will flip itself right side up if it flipped over too, so that helps a lot. All right, so we visually can see where we're going anyway, but as you see, the bearing system is real easy to get us where we're going. And how's it going, Sergeant? All right, so we're just going to do a fire extinguisher on here. One thing I'll put on my list for this boat, too, is a fire hose. So this iterative building works a lot better. That's the other thing I see a lot of people get frustrated with. You know, yeah, most of my stuff I'm talking to new players with this stuff, but They'll go out there and they'll get frustrated because they spend 10 hours building their boat and then it doesn't work. First thing you need to do is build a boat that works. Start simple. Put on, then go do a rescue mission. Then come back, add something. Does the boat still work? Yes. Continue. If whatever you added makes the boat not work, you can't do it. So if you add, like I had these issues when I first started playing, was like I wanted this cool tugboat and I struggled and struggled and struggled and struggled to get it to not roll over. And now with the experience I have now, it would be a piece of cake to go fix that boat. But if you invest too much time making it look really good and all this cool stuff before you have the basics down, you're going to have a boat that doesn't work, and it's going to be just a frustration machine because you spent all this time building something, you went and decorated it, and now it doesn't work. We're out of fuel. How are we out of fuel? We're going to fix that real quick. How do we run out of fuel? I had 1,000 liters. Oh, you know what? I bet. Oh, you know what it was? I remember I dragged my fuel down to 9%. That's why. I never pushed it back up. So that's my fault. So we'll just go with infinite fuel for a little bit because I screwed this up. If you remember, I dragged my fuel down to 9%. I never put it back up. So we left base with essentially 9% fuel. And we just ran out. That's all it was. I don't want to buy this base. This base isn't all that useful to me. But I was going to say it would be kind of cool. We could build a jerry can and get ourselves out of this situation. But I have to spend 30 grand to do it, so. All right, good. We just got 3 grand for that. I'm going to see if there's any, if there are a bunch of, I don't want to quote unquote cheat, but if there are a bunch of, if there are some crates and stuff and I make enough money on this, what I'll do is, so this is an option I always deselect, which is elevators, so I can't use the elevator. I was going to say, if there were some loot crates here, what I would do is buy this base. It's only 30 grand, and I can start using some airplanes out of here. And it's a pretty cheap way to start with airplanes. But I guess I could spend the 30 grand. 30 grand's really pretty negligible to me. You know, I could do that, I guess. And I could start using some airplanes. That could be a thing to do. The thing that actually interests me most is that I'd be able to, here, let's do this. Shut off infinite resources, infinite fuel, rather. So we would have coasted to the shore probably, or I would have been able to swim, so try not to cheat too much here, or at all. I am going to turn a no clip and go up because I purposely shut elevators off because the elevators are, they could get jammed up, and then I think they can cause a lot of lag, so I just shut them off when I make my world. So those are the elevators we're talking about. So I want to just come up here and make sure I'm not missing out on a crate because I can't get up here with the elevators off. But yeah, you know, you can take this elevator, but the fear is that it lags out my game, so I shut them off. I don't need it. All right, so what we're going to do here is I do not see any crates, which is unfortunate. We'll check over here real fast. If I could get a loot crate, that would be nice. And instead of cheating, we're going to buy this base, and we're going to make a jerry can, and we're going to fill up our boat. So I'm just looking for crates because that would really help money-wise. Could launch one of my helicopters too and fly out of here. But all right, I don't see any crates. Check up on this rock here again. So I don't see any crates at the moment. The weather really calmed down. Yeah, that was just my fault with I tested the boat, brought it down to 9% fuel, so it didn't fill up. And then I need to get some fuel back to my base. So what we'll do is we'll buy this base. That will give us kind of a ready supply of fuel. And again, this is like, you know, any sort of struggle or challenge here should be used as a way to do some things in game. So for example, you're out of fuel. You should go to other bases, pilfer them, or better, go buy some fuel. That's going to kill my battery. Gotta go fix that before it kills my battery. All right. All right, we're going to go do a jerry can. We're going to buy this base, so it's not that much money. We just made a little bit of money. We got to bring these people. There's one casualty of the hospital. That will help us out. This one's only 30 grand. We're going to buy it. All right. All right, so we'll build one right now. It'll take us 2 seconds to build a jerry can. So, let's build a new jerry can. I have jerry cans. Like, I literally, one of my coolest, missions, I think it was in one of my career build series, was I got close to a base, and I ran out of fuel, and I swam all the way over to the base, built a jerry can, and swam all the way back with it. So it's like, that's the sort of stuff that's fun, you know? All right, let's go large tank. I was proof of concept this. How is that still tipping over forward? Oh, because it's fallen from a great fucking height. Forgot about that. I didn't pull it down, so that's why. falling from a great height. That's why. All right. It's the momentum. That's why. Still dropping from too high. Why is it dropping so much? All right, so we're going to change the design. I was trying to make this dolly, but it's going to be a pain in the ass. So what we're going to do is here. I do have a bunch of vehicles that could just solve this problem, but I'm gonna just do that for now. I'm not gonna fart around too long. Let's do this. Let's just do this. All right, good. Go down the beach. I should have left it up there, I think. But here, let's go ahead and set the park brake. Hopefully this doesn't drag this into the water. Shall see. Alright. Fire extinguisher on me. Alright, good. So we're filling. You know, this is the sort of stuff I like, right? We ran out of fuel. It was my fault. But luckily we're close to here. And bought the base. Wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do, but it was it's kind of a cool turn of events. And now we're using another vehicle to fill it up. So it's kind of fun. I have a... There we go, store fire extinguisher. Right, so we're filling up now. Just keep us in the running here. Probably end up running back to the once we head back to base. Probably finish up. But it's been fun getting back into stormworks. You know, so what I'd like to do with the series going forward is, again, I can't play as much as I used to, but you know, this boat, again, this is starting to get to where I want to finish with this boat and start something new. And what I want to do is clean up the dash, make the dash look cool, add all the features that I want for this boat, like keep it simple. You know, maybe it gets an autopilot, maybe it doesn't, but some things to add to it, and then kind of call it quits on this vehicle. And then with the way I have this system set up is the same thing that where the air goes to the engines, it vents the fuel tanks. So if I can find it, right there, fluid port. You see we're getting, it's showing it's pushing out some atmosphere. That's the tanks venting. So, all right, we'll let this fill up. I'll be right back. All right, let's see where we're at fuel-wise. All right, so it's pretty much stopped here. Let's see what we have over here. We could be empty. Yep, we're empty. So let's go ahead and shut that off. Let's take this. Let's get out of here. We didn't fill it up full, but I'm not going to bother. Just try not to get it into the drink with this. All right, so there's still a little fuel from this base with the mini truck. All right, good. So mini truck again proves its worth. We're good there. All right, very nice. All right, that's good. We have one person to rescue. That's a supervisor. Let's see. I think it's this person in the bathroom is who we need to rescue. Yeah, they're incapacitated. So that would explain it. So let's go throw them out, jump them, bring them with, and then we'll go drop them off. That'll be the rest of the money. And then I think we'll call it a day. It was good getting back into the game. It was good. Made some good progress on this boat. Clear, sucker. All right. All right, and we'll stick that back in there. All right, let's go ahead and get out of here. All right, that's the whole benefit of twin screws. You see how tight I was in there? I put one engine forward, one engine in reverse, and got right out. So, really makes it much more maneuverable. All right, we'll drop this person off on the way out. So now we know. Well, we could go up to the hospital boat, but I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to go to the hospital boat. We'll go back here. It's right there, but it's gonna be annoying. Yeah, it's gonna be annoying, so I'm not gonna bother. But we do own that base there. It's not that far away. We can't despawn our boat, but we'll be able to spawn a helicopter or a plane. It really wasn't too much money, so I'm not too worried about spending the money. All right, so we're close to where we're headed here. Yeah, so I think, we've tried to get a bunch of stuff written down for this boat. Those will be the things that kind of go into next for this boat. And then probably start to try to move to some other stuff. Maybe make, I would love to make a seaplane, like a small seaplane. So maybe that's what we'll do out of that new base. These are the type of things that, like, things you didn't expect can be fun because it adds to the gameplay. Like, I didn't expect to be buying that base. And because we ran out of fuel there, well, now we own that base. Well, we could go build some airplanes, Did I put that where? Okay, it's there. All right. All right, it's about a little less than 2 minutes till we get there. What is that base? Oh, that must be the big military base. I must just be able to see it from here. Yeah, it's the big military base. That's our base. And then the hospital line's straight ahead of us. All right, there's the hospital island coming up. So drop this guy off. We got all the crates from this. You know, we're down a little money now, but you know, from this this play session, we've made more money than we spent on that base. So now we have an extra base. The issue being too is we're gonna have to leave this boat on anchor while we pull something out of that hangar. So we can't just like put the boat away and then take a different vehicle out. So I'll make sure I also set this so that the tanks are back to filling 100% before I and save it up. Might just put a heading hold on this instead of doing a full GPS autopilot. I don't want to spend too. You know, it's easy. I've got the systems already, but I don't want to spend too much time on this boat. I kind of want to move on to the next one. And it's good to go back and forth and, you know, start another vehicle. Spending too much time perfecting this vehicle and then starting over on something different. Trying to see where the dock is. There it is. Right there. But one of the only ways you're going to get better too at operating vehicles, you know, not one of the only ways, let's rephrase it. You know, one of the ways you get used to like operating a vehicle is not being in third person. You know, you start to understand like, pretty soon I'm going to lose the view of the dock from my bow obscuring it, so I have to keep that in mind, and you start to be able to get some perception. So like right now I got to start turning, I'm going to lose that dock. Now I can't see it as well. Now bang, stop, bang, we're right on the dock. You know, so you learn those techniques by using first person, how it would look IRL being in first person. Going to third person all the time, you know, you kind of lose that that skill set. Let's pick you up there, sucker. They say it's not a bad docking job. You know, it's you only learn how to do that by doing it. You know, you can't just keep doing third person and expect to be able to do it in first. You gotta, it's practice, and you know. My buddy just brought me a toy. What's up, buds? Yeah, Sue just brought me his flying squirrel. Is he still following me? Here he is, thank Christ. Yeah, I picked up the loot crates from here already, so there won't be any here. Did they increase the run speed? Looks like they increased the run speed. I wonder if they're like just trying to quiet up all the whiners who were like everything takes too long and just be like, we'll just increase the speed of everything. Yeah, look at the run speed. The run speed is ridiculous. I think they upped the run speed too. Yep, they definitely upped the run speed. Whatever. I can always walk. Like my walk is still like a run. Yeah, I thought the bunny hops were much faster now. They definitely upped the speeds. Alright, so like, for example, to get off this dock, right? If I go reverse on the starboard screw and go all the way left on my wheel, it's going to pull my bow into the dock, slamming my bow in. If I go off on the left screw, right, and I then do all the way left in the wheel, you notice the rudder, let me go and We'll get third person enabled. All right, so here. If I go left on both rudders and I pull and I reverse on the right screw, it's going to pull my bow into the dock and slam me in the dock. If I go left on my rudders and go on the left screw, it's going to pull my stern away, right? And then I can straighten the rudder out, and because the bow is already off the dock, I'm not going to slam the dock. So we'll slowly click the left screw into reverse. There it goes. And you'll watch my stern comes off. We straighten out the rudder, and we come right off the dock without hitting it. We're going to go hard right. We're going to come up forward on the starboard screw. And now forward on the port screw. And we're off. You know, so it's... You learn these things by practicing, you know. There's no shortcut to it. You just got to go out there and play. You know, so if you're going to do that in real life, you know, so first thing you could do, like, you notice my bow is already off the dock. If I wanted to accomplish that, what I would do is I would just gently come up on the starboard screw, go forward on it, and that would push my bow off. And then I could bring that starboard screw into neutral and do what I just did with the port screw to make sure we didn't hit the dock on the way out. All right, we're going to go ahead and fix this. So this is why we ran our fuels. I had them set down to 9% for the test. All right, we'll go ahead and save this. All right, so that was good. That we got a lot done there. And then this, one of the reasons I built, you know, I ended up not, didn't have time to finish my lobster boat for Alistair's challenge, but we can use it in our career game to go make some cash. Too much cash, frankly. But we can go grind some cash with this if we want, and finish this boat up as well. But that was a good play session. I enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun. Thank you guys for joining and hanging out. It was good to see everybody. I will catch you guys in the next one.